good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this in the world. I hope you guys are doing okay. So for some time now, there has been a lot of garbage being put out on TV, being put out in the gaming world, and being put out on cinemas. And I actually think that we are on the cusp of some real positive change amongst all three of these things. Not just change in the gaming world, as I said, but on television and movies, because it's been a long time coming. I actually think these activists may have actually broken the camel's back this time. Now, you've got success for Deadpool and Wolverine, you've had the success of Black Myth Wukong, and you've had the cancellation of Star Wars Acolyte after one season, and all of these things point to one thing to me. People will respond to things that have been made with love and care. They will also refuse to show up for things that don't feel like they've been made with any love and care at all, things that look like absolute garbage. They don't like things being forced down their throats. Now let's start off with the new Star Wars show, the Star Wars Acolyte show. A show that was absolutely destroyed by its core fan base and has now been cancelled after one season. I've got some tweets here and I want you guys to get an understanding of where I'm coming from with all of this. So the first one is from an individual called Reese, and it says, y'all cancelled the one Star Wars show that had potential. Y'all seen a black actor in the lead role and took it as the show being woke. One of the best storytelling for Star Wars, and y'all threw it down the fucking drain. I'm tired, none of you deserve the Acolyte. There's also another tweet here from EXO that says, the Acolyte getting cancelled because incels couldn't handle a sexy black girl and sexy Asian man serving evil villainous romance. The show was not cancelled by racists who didn't like a black actor in the lead role. The show wasn't cancelled by incels who had an issue with the woman in the show, or several women in the show. The show was cancelled because nobody watched it, and the ones that did watch it reviewed it very poorly. The people tweeting these things are basically saying that the majority of Star Wars fans are racist incels because nobody watched the show. It has to be that. There's no other way to look at this, because if the show was being watched and reviewed by yourself or people that share your sentiment, it would have been fine. It wouldn't have been cancelled. Now, just to be clear, I do not think the majority of Star Wars fans are racist incels. I think that is ridiculous. But I do think most of them know garbage when they see it, and apparently the Acolyte was a pile of garbage. Now, I haven't seen the Acolyte myself. I tuned out of Star Wars quite some time ago, but the basic rule of thumb is if people are not turning up for your show, then that means it failed. They likely catered it to an audience that just isn't there. Surely, if the amount of black and Asian people watching it was high, the show would have done well. Or maybe there was an abundance of black and Asian people that did watch it because Star Wars is a worldwide phenomenon and they thought this is hot garbage. I want to read you this quick tweet as well. It says, jokes aside, I'm part of the demographic the Acolyte was trying to hit. The direction Kathleen Kennedy was taking Star Wars was to appeal to women and specifically women of color so we can all see ourselves. The truth is, I've been a fan from as far back as I can remember. There was nothing wrong with Star Wars. I didn't want it to be more girly. I didn't want to see myself because it was great as is. I saw myself in characters like Leia, Luke, and Han. I loved that the bad guys were so evil and cool looking, but at the end of the day, good always defeats evil. There is no grey area like in modern Star Wars. George Lucas wanted it to inspire hope and give us heroes to root for. Cancelling the Acolyte was the glimmer of hope that maybe one day Star Wars will be back on course, familiar to those who loved it as it was. I'm a woman of colour, and modern Star Wars sucks because they're trying to pander to me. Stop. And this is a sentiment that I share. I do not need someone that looks like me, and I don't need someone that sounds like me to be in the show. I don't need someone that thinks like me. I need the creator to tell me a story worthwhile. Depending on the show we're talking about, I expect different things from it. If it's a comedy, then I expect the writers to elicit laughter from me. I expect that to be their top priority. If it's a horror, I expect them to scare me. I expect that to be their top priority. If it's a piece of work that has a lot of complexities and nuance, then I am looking for a story that makes me stop and think. I don't care who's telling the story or who the main character is, whether it's a man or a woman, whether they're black or white, whether they look like me or not. Why do you think we've basically never heard of complaints regarding Denzel Washington films? Because the man is an excellent actor first. I know Denzel is proud of his race, and he certainly made films centered around black people and their struggles. I watched The Great Debaters last night, which is an excellent film that came out in 2007 based on black youth and their challenges in the education system back in 1935. Did I watch that film and cringe? Absolutely not. They were telling a story accurate to the time, and the actor in that film, which was Denzel, and his co-stars were absolutely phenomenal. Do you know why The Woman King was not well received? It retold the history of that period, and it did it in a laughable manner. You only need to do a quick Google search to understand what I'm talking about. It felt forced, it felt contrived, and like a message was trying to be pushed down our throats. It has nothing to do with Viola Davis as an actress. She's amazing. I saw her in Fences. It's not very often that Denzel Washington meets his actress match on screen, but if you've seen that film, you know how great she was in that role and as an actress in general. So please never get it twisted. It all comes down to how you put something across. Audiences aren't stupid, and blaming on others makes no sense. Blame yourself. Blame the people that follow your train of thought. Where are they? Why did they not show up for The Acolyte? Are they incapable of watching it? Of reviewing it? Of course they're not. The audience doesn't exist. Disney lost money and the show got pulled. Companies, corporations, businesses, whatever it might be, do not pull the plug on things that are making them a profit. That just does not happen. Why do you think we get a FIFA, WWE, or COD game every year? Despite the quality of these games and the controversies that might surround those qualities, people show up for them. If people didn't, they might be forced to stop and think about their next move. Now I say this respectfully, please take your heads out of your backsides and look around. The audience for this kind of Star Wars does not exist. If it did, they'd have shown up. They didn't. Talk to your people. If they are out there, why weren't they watching? If it was so good, they should have been there. My eyes do the exact same things that yours does. My ears hear just like yours do. And my fingers are able to type on a keyboard just like yours. So where were your positive reviews? The people that want a return to form for Star Wars outweigh those that want Acolyte style shows. An incel can't cancel it, but your friends not tuning in to support the show that you seem to love, that seems to have awesome storytelling, now that's actually got some real power. Blame yourselves. A tweet here basically summarizes this. The Acolyte wasn't cancelled because it was woke or because of incels. It was cancelled because it was the lowest viewed Star Wars show on the Disney Plus app and it cost a fortune to make. That is an example of someone that understands the reality of the situation, understands how cancellations of shows work. Victim complex and finger pointing 101, ladies and gentlemen. Show up for your TV shows and they will remain on air. This is an example of somebody that has lost touch with reality. The Acolyte being cancelled is just another example of toxic internet hate. The show never got a chance to breathe and half of the people hating on it never even watched an episode. It's not my favorite piece of Star Wars content, but it certainly didn't deserve to be axed. It did deserve to be axed because there was nobody watching it. That is how TV shows work. It doesn't matter what I say on this video. If there was an audience for it, I would have to shut up. There was not an audience for it. If there was, where were they? Speaking of showing out, we're all excited for the new secret level, and whilst I can't show you the footage due to copyright reasons, the creator of the show came out on stage and announced it was coming to Amazon, and whilst doing so started tearing up. Everyone in the audience could see the passion for the project, and immediately the trailer looked very good. You can bet your ass that we're going to show up for this show, and if it's good, it will be praised accordingly. The guy apparently made Love, Death and Robots, so I have extremely high expectations given the fact that Love, Death and Robots was actually brilliant. Support the shows you think are going to be good and people will stick around. It's that simple. Now if this show sucks, we will let them know. It is that simple as well. Moving on to movies, and this really centers around the MCU because they dominate the cinema a lot of the time. Ever since Tony Stark snapped his fingers and defeated Thanos, it feels like Marvel has had a huge identity crisis. They forgot what made them special, started churning out way too many TV shows, and seem to be hell-bent in pandering to an audience that again isn't there. And that really reflected in viewership for a lot of these shows and movies. It felt like the fun was lost, and in its place was a sewage trail of dumpster fire, wannabe comedies, hell-bent again on feeding us the message. And if we decided to not watch these shows, they called us bigots. Just look at She-Hulk, cancelled after one season. Now you'll say it's because of bigoted and misogynistic men, and the reason that it was cancelled is because they did not show up to support it because it's centered around women. But in reality, men make up 50.28% of the world's population and women make up 49.72% of the world's population, essentially making it 50-50. If women cared about Jennifer Walters as much as dudes care about Steve Rogers, why did it fail? Probably because people don't care about her as much as you think, women included, and Marvel did a hilariously poor job in trying to get people to relate with the character. Do you really think it was men that solely made the MCU as much of a success as it was during the golden 10 years, or do you think women were also going to the cinemas to see what the Avengers might do next? Let's actually be real here. They were showing up and they stopped showing up when they started trying to pander. Again, if all of these men are bigots, then where the hell were all the women when they started catering it to them? Are they bigots as well, or do they just have good taste as well? The cop-out these people use is, well, I'd imagine kind of offensive to women at this point. If the film's successful, then they disregard women, and if it's unsuccessful, then they make out like it was all cause of men. They really don't think your money holds the same value as ours. How else do you explain this? I wonder how many of you ladies went to watch the Marvels. I'm guessing not many, since it was a box office bomb. Were these women incapable of going to the movies to support this film? Did their boyfriends or fathers not give them permission? Of course not. The fact that they disregard women like this actually makes me laugh. Women have the exact same opportunity to show up and support whatever they want, just like men, and they voted with their wallets. Same goes for TV shows. Nobody's stopping you from turning on your TV and supporting these shows where they are female centric. They're not supporting them. I'm guessing though that a lot of you women have seen Deadpool and Wolverine, the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. Surely the delusional mob online doesn't believe it was solely men that made this movie a success, right? You're not excluding women from this conversation as well, I hope. My point is, people don't show up for dog shit. Doesn't matter what gender you are, they're not going to watch it. Marvel attempted to make films for an audience that again was not there, and it backfired. Luckily, Marvel Jesus, aka Ryan Reynolds, aka Deadpool, saved them. And when I say an audience that just isn't there, I'm not talking about women, just to be clear. Women are showing up to the cinemas and paying to watch Marvel films. The audience I'm referring to is the one that likes to be pandered to like they're a lost puppy that's just been given shelter. Now that Deadpool and Wolverine has basically proven that people still want to watch superhero films, I'm sure Marvel are going to wake up and start to produce some fun films again. I know there's already a lot of leftover schlop that has already finished production, but I'm anticipating a shift in tone for the MCU, and I think will be reflected in the amount of people that show up. This brings me to Black Myth Wukong and the games industry as a whole right now. Black Myth, Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate, Hogwarts Legacy, just a few examples of gamers showing up. Suicide Squad, Forspoken, Overwatch 2, and a slew of other games riddled with either microtransactions, bad storytelling, or awful reimaginings of characters are just a few examples of gamers saying no to rubbish. The thing that made me laugh the most about the Wukong controversies was people saying majority of the players are based in China, as if Chinese gamers don't matter as much as the rest of us. And the thing is, China hasn't had the best track record when it comes to games and coming through with worthwhile investments. There's always a lot of mobile games or very niche franchises or very Genshin Impact-y games, but nothing that caught people's attentions like Black Myth. And of course, that's where it's going to be played the most. The game is about a Chinese fairy tale. Did you think majority of the player base was going to be in the US or UK? Let's actually be real here. Either way, as of now, it has sold 4.5 million copies globally across all platforms. Gamers show up to support something that matters. The funniest thing about all of this is the people that tried their best to destroy this game. Some of them, like the individual that wrote the slanderous article about Game Science, started blocking people and then decided to do a runner from Twitter altogether. And even after all of that, they continued to peddle the mistranslation of the Chinese studio.
I really would like to encourage folks to read my and Ki-hoon's article from October, which is linked elsewhere in the thread. Not just skim or read summaries, but really read it. I think a lot of what's happened since we published it has gone on to prove the point of the article. It's not that the game itself is sexist. It seems fine from what I've heard, though I haven't played it yet, so I cannot fully say. It's not even that the whole studio is toxic. I have no idea.
Ah! The literal title of the article she made.
How Black Myth Wukong developers' history of sexism is complicating its journey to the West.
It's a deep dive into the toxic community that has sprung up around the game due to the ways its founders engaged online, and how that community has spiraled out of control ever since. For all the weirdos online claiming our article was Google translated, completely untrue. Or debunked. What part of it was untrue, LOL?
Again, the original translation makes no logical sense, given the nature of the post being a self-critique.
I want to expand my circle and hire more people. Get licked until I can't get an erection.
Anyone reading this would instantly think the founder is a pervert, but an actual good faith interpretation would be, I wanted to expand my circle and hire more people, but people were brown-nosing me so much that I wasn't even able to function anymore.
Everyone has really just gone on to prove over and over that Black Myth Wukong's online community is infested with sexism, and its developers at best don't care.
It was never about protecting women. It was never about getting the truth out. There was an agenda here and they failed miserably. Well, hilariously for some of us, but miserably all the same. And you can see it there. We can see the mistranslation. There are even people that come into my comment section on Black Myth videos and they'll say, you're protecting this studio that was saying nasty things about women and doing nasty things. Whilst I have a Chinese female gamer in the video pulled from another video telling you that it's a mistranslation, you continue to peddle the lie. But I know for a lot of these idiots, they don't even bother to watch and listen to the context. They want to push an agenda. They see the title and they're like, I'm going to make my comment now and keep it moving. You just look stupid every single time you do it. All of this to say, it doesn't matter what I say at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what the journalists say. The only thing that matters and the constant undeniable truth in all of this is the wallet. The wallet reveals the truth and that's all there is to it. You people can try your best to call people names, pretend like the female audience have no agency, act like gamers are all mad, ungrateful people, but no matter what you say, all of this proves that people will go where they believe the quality is. And don't get me wrong, you may fool people sometimes. times, but doing that is becoming harder and harder. If I find out that Sweet Baby Inc. has worked on a game or one of these narrative consultant agencies, I'm not going to buy it. It saves me money. If I find out Kotaku doesn't like a game, it piques my interest. If I find out that diversity and inclusion was the highest priority, I have an idea of where that product is going. If I see that IGN are writing negative articles about something over and over, I know it's probably worth checking out. So thank you all for your help. You're making managing my money so much easier when it comes to investments in games, TV shows, and movies. And with that, I'd just like to say that the pendulum is swinging back. I encourage all of these studios that want to continue to pander or put out things that we did not ask for, keep doing it. It is very clear where the market is going, it is very clear where the culture is going, and it's very clear what the sentiments are now. So keep doing it. Destroy your studios. Put out rubbish for an audience that isn't there. Send out bullshit tweets about bigots and misogynists as if women don't also play games and have money to go to the movies. Keep doing it. Let's see how it works out for you. For the rest of us, we'll be here waiting, and we will continue to purchase products and watch films that are worth our time. Take care, guys. Have a good day, and peace.